Hello, this is Edward Troxel, and in today's tutorial we're going to look at how to change parameters for the transitions that we just added to our event on the timeline. So we can change the parameters for transitions the same as we did for the effects, and the process is actually exactly the same. So let's see how we can do that. If you remember, in the last video we used this set transition routine in order to actually add the transition to either the fade in or the fade out. We need to modify this slightly in that we want to get the actual effect back from that routine. So I have changed the beginning here to say I'm going to be getting an effect, and I'm going to call this effect in. And then it will do the fade in transition and return that effect back to us. Then I'm going to have an effect called effect out, and we'll call that same set transition routine, and it will return that effect back to us. But now we need to change the set transition routine so that it will actually return that information. So let's go down and look at the set transition routine. For the set transition routine, there's really only two changes that I had to make to this. First of all, instead of saying void, I had to say this is an effect. So it will return an effect. And then down here, I had to add the line return and the effect that we created. We created an effect called T-effect. We used it here, and then we return it here. So now this routine will return this effect back into these two variables. So let's see what happens when we run this now. So now we have the clock wipe, and we have two parameters in it. First of all is the direction, second of all is the feather angle. I think I'll change the feather angle so that it's got a bigger value. By default, we could see it was 30. I think I'll make it somewhere around 150 so that we can see the difference that it made. Then we'll come over here to spiral, and we have several things we can take into account here. We could change the size, feather, color, all kinds of things. I think what I'll do is I'll just change the number of turns here to be 5 instead of 1. The default is 1. I think I'll change it to 5. So let's go back to our code here. First thing I have to do is get the OFX effect for each one of the effects. So I'm getting the OFX effect. I'm calling it OFX in, and I'm getting that from the effect in.OFX effect. Then I'm doing the same thing down here. I'm getting the OFX effect called OFX out, and then I'm getting that from effect out.OFX effect. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to show the transition name. We're going to do the same thing for both of these. So we'll get the in label, which will show us the name of the transition we're looking at, and then we'll go through all of the parameters for the in. Then likewise, we're going to look at the name of the out transition, and then we'll go through all of the parameters that are available for the out transition. So let's run it now. So the first thing we get is the Vegas clock wipe is the name of it. We get a transition of type double, a direction of type choice, a feather angle of type double. That's the one we want, so we know it's a feather angle and it's a double. And then a controls of type page. Then we move over to the Vegas spiral. That will give us a transition of type double, turns of type double. That's what we want. We want the number of turns. So turns, and it's a double. Zoom is a double. Orientation is a choice. Motion is a choice. Direction is a choice. Border is a group. Border size is a double. Border feather is a double. Border color is an RGB. and then a controls of type page. So now we'll go through and change those values. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Then I'm going to delete this because we no longer need that. Then I need an OFX double parameter, and I'm just going to call that OFX feather. We're going to get that by looking at the OFX in, and we're looking for the one called feather angle. Then we're going to change the value of that to 150. Similarly, we're going to create another double parameter. I'm just going to call it OFX turns. We're going to be looking at the OFX out this time, and we're looking for turns. And then we will set the number of turns to 5. So let's save this, run it again. So now when we come in and look at clock wipe, look at the parameters, our feather angle is 150. And then if we come in here and look at spiral, our number of turns is 5. So when we play this back, we can see that the feather was greatly increased and the number of spins was greatly increased. So because an effect and transition are both basically effects, we can change the parameters exactly the same way. We just have to get the OFX effect, look up the OFX parameter we want to change, and change the value, and then we'll be set to go. Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.